Umar at one time he stopped by a Jewish rabbi, and Umar himself said that I was so amazed at how sometimes the Old Testament has some citations, narrations that identical to what's in the Quran, and he decided to compile some of it and bring it to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that is where the Prophet made that statement, beautiful statement, which you started the broadcast with, that أمتهوكون فيها يا ابن الخطاب. Would you advise a Muslim to go into a non-Muslim university to major? Even though we have International Open University behind you, we have Medina, we have other institutes, to major in Islamic studies, in a field of Islamic studies. Would you advise a Muslim to study under non-Muslims the subject of Islam, whether it is the fundamentals or the branches?
I would not say that simply because a person is a non-Muslim that they are incapable of conveying accurate information. So I would not just close the door. However, I would say that, of course, a person, after having completed his studies, if he wanted to go and look at the arguments of the Orientalists, etc., to study under them, to hear their arguments and develop counter arguments against their arguments for the benefit of the Ummah. There's no harm. But where one, dives in because they want a degree from, XYZ university, because that will give them status and etc., then this is very dangerous. One exposes oneself to their thought. And I know many, who tried to study in McGill in Canada, which used to be the headquarters for training missionaries to go and convert Muslims in different parts of the world and others, and so they have a very strong department of Oriental studies, etc. But who had graduated from the East and came and tried to study with them, they wouldn't give them the time of day. If they didn't change their ideas and change their point of view to become neutral, then they were not going to graduate. And I know them, the brothers and sisters who went there, spent 3, 4 years, 5 years, and in the end they had to give up because it just wasn't happening, because they had a particular agenda. The agenda was to, to manipulate that individual's understanding until he became one like them, an Orientalist.
Yeah, very, very sad. Sheikh, using the subject of academic, like, let's look into this academically and research and cancel out any ijma', any built up, opinion for the last 14 years. Let's bring the subject into, especially if the subject is a subject of ghaibiyat, of unseen, the 6 articles of faith, of Iman. And let's just, use intellect, use academic, use research language, when we know that a lot of that subject has to do with believing in Allah, that Allah said that in the Quran or on the tongue of His Messenger. That's really, like Abu Bakr said about the Mi'raj, about the Isra, I'm sorry, the Mi'raj was not even there. Did he say that? Then I believe it, even though academically, Google Map, that's the word that my friend Daniel Haqiqatu used, he's not in the Google Map. I mean, what kind of sense is that for a Muslim who believes Allah exists, but he doesn't see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who believes that angels exist and he does not see the angels, who believes that jinn exist, he does not see them, he believes in the Day of Judgment. Is that something that is healthy to speak like that on a public forum like that to layman Muslims?
Well, of course, this is not correct. This is not the correct approach. Academically, can be in terms of methodology of research, how you conduct your research and things like this. We can learn from them because they have been very thorough, in gathering information and manipulating it and all kinds of other things they did with it. But how to reach to those sources, to gather, to test, so from their methodologies we could benefit. But the conclusions that they've come to as a result of their interpretation of their findings, that's a whole nother story. It's just like the issue of evolution. Can we deny that there were dinosaurs? I mean, you do have some Muslims who say there weren't any dinosaurs. But a person who has gone through basic education understands this is real. These footprints they found, these bones they found, all this stuff. This is not something people are making up, right? So yes, the dinosaurs were there, but the point is that when you now start to give color to the dinosaur, you've put a skin on him and given it color. Hey, this is pure speculation. You cannot figure out the color, of the skin of an animal from its bones. It just doesn't happen, But they have gone ahead and done it. So they've made evolution. It's presented in such a Hollywood style story that people say, but I saw it on TV. I saw it in these books. But they don't realize that gaps have been filled. So because there's an agenda. So similarly, those who are engaged in the Orientalist studies, they have an agenda. Their agenda is to undermine Islam. In general, it's not to say every last one of them. There are who are very honest and very open, and speak it so clearly that some people ask them after their speeches, "Are you Muslim?" They'll say, "No, sorry, I'm not. I'm thinking about it, or I'm reading about it, or whatever." But they speak very honestly and very openly, and So we don't want to say everybody on that other side is like that, but we do know that the whole Orientalist centers of learning were specifically connected with the colonization of the world, and to a large degree it was of the Muslim world. And this was a system of education which would undermine the existing systems, and bring people towards secularism. We understand that this is all intertwined. So we have to be very careful when dealing with sources that are not secure. We have doubts about them, etc.
I love this hadith when the Prophet ﷺ mentioned about the man who started riding his cow, and the cow looked at him and he said, "Hey, Allah created me to help you plow the earth, to help you cultivate, not to ride me." So the companions said, "أبقرة تكلم يا رسول الله." It's too much. أنا أؤمن بذلك. Islam is about that. There is a whole portion of the religion, the foundation is about that. So
it's also of Ali ibn Abi Talib, that if the religion was based on opinion, on reason and logic, then wiping the bottom of your socks would be given precedence over wiping the top. But I saw Rasulullah wipe the top but not the bottom.
No.
So that's telling us that there is a place for naql and a place for aql.
No.
A place for what has been revealed and has reached us from the Quran or from the Sunnah, and where we have for our own reasoning and logic and rationale, etc. But we have to keep them in their proper place.